Shabbat Shalom, family. Good to see everybody again. Boy, knocking out all these live streams. I'm loving it. So, y'all, we're going to talk about this latest thing the U.S. is doing to China. And that is not only slamming them with all of these outrageous tariffs, but now they also want to hit the U.S. The U.S. wants to hit them with docking fees, which I think is outrageous. All right, so they got to pay tariffs and docking fees. You know, actually, I would not be shocked if China did not come here at all. Just decide, forget the U.S. We're not even going to bother with them anymore. We're not going there anymore. You know, because of just the way Donald Trump has been handling this whole thing, I just would not be shocked if the end result, somewhere down the line, they're just going to tell the U.S. to go to hell and not come at all. And it's bad enough that they have already stopped 80% of the ships that would normally come here from China. I did a live stream on that, and I don't believe these folks are joking. They said they can get their business elsewhere. And they're absolutely right, because they do the biggest manufacturing on the face of the earth is done out of China. So that being said, they're not going to have any problems obtaining more customers elsewhere. You know, in fact, it would probably be very easy for them to do that. So I don't know what they are thinking by doing this, but anything that's going to make things more difficult for the consumer. All right, so Trump has unveiled new fees on Chinese ships docking at U.S. ports, but the experts are saying this is just going to create more chaos, because look at what they're saying. These fees are for China only. ships coming from other countries, they don't have to pay these fees, just China. And that alone is going to create a problem for the US. So the Trump administration is rolling out these new fees. And this is going to be just for China. So the plan announced late Thursday by the US Trade Representative slapped steep levies on Chinese ships docking at US ports based on the amount of cargo they are carrying, which could soar to as much as $50 million per vessel a year. So if China is sending, let's say China is sending 80 vessels over to the US, it would be 50 million per year per vessel. That is insane. That's why I think if this war goes too much longer, don't be surprised if somewhere down the line China says we are not coming at all. But I really think that's what it's going to come down to. This is why I believe this summer is going to be way worse than what we are experiencing right now. It's only going to get worse. The trade war, China said they're not backing down. So it's definitely going to get worse. The new tax doesn't kick in until October, presumably, giving President Trump another arrow in his escalation of this trade war with China, whose vessels will soon carry 98% of all global shipping. Yes. Wow. So the whole intent is to try to shut out the Chinese boats and encourage manufacturers in the US to start building ships, but that's going to take a long time. So this is what the commissioner of the Port of Los Angeles is saying. So in other words, the US, or what Donald Trump, I should say, is thinking they can kind of knock China out of world dominance and the US can take over. I don't believe that's going to happen because your average manufacturer don't want to pay these wages that people are going to demand over here in the US. They are all piled over in China because those folks will work for far less money. And if they come here and pay the kind of salaries that Americans want, that's going to cut into their profit. That's why they're not going to come here with those manufacturing jobs. They can talk about it all day and all night. And I'm telling you, they're never coming. I have been hearing them talk about bringing manufacturing jobs over to America probably for the last 30 years of my life. I have heard them say this. And I have never seen it happen yet. And it's not going to happen now. Let's think about it. Even if they had a glimmer of a chance of doing this, the problem is no other country likes Donald Trump. They don't like Donald Trump. And if they don't like your president, what are the chances of him being able to trade globally when he's made enemies out of everybody? Nobody will want to buy from America. Absolutely insane. So the revised plan will now charge ship operators per voyage instead per port of call, with China-owned vessels flagged by other nations paying less than Chinese shipping companies such as Costco. So the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Lin Jian, strongly criticized the measures, asserting at a Friday press conference in Beijing that these new levies would ultimately hurt the U.S. itself as well as others. The World Shipping Council, a Washington, D.C. trading company and group, it's a trading group, called the port fees a step in the wrong direction. So they are not agreeing with Donald Trump and paying these port fees when Chinese vessels, when they come and they dock at the ports in the U.S. So they're not agreeing with these additional fees that Donald Trump is trying to put on them. Beginning October 14th, Chinese built or owned ships will be charged $50 a net ton, a rate that will increase by $30 a year over year in the next 3 years. That's outrageous. You know how many tons this thing carry? They could ultimately be paying billions of dollars, y'all, just to dock and bring stuff to America. That's outrageous. That's why I'm saying if he keeps these fees up, they're going to just stop coming here altogether. Mm-mm-mm. That is crazy. So ships and shipping are vital to the American economic security and the free flow of commerce. So this is according to the U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer and announcing the new fees. The Trump administration actions will begin to reverse Chinese dominance, address threats to the U.S. supply chain, and send a demand signal for U.S. built ships. This ain't going to happen. This is just a fantasy. This man is ridiculous. This ain't going to happen. The U.S. is never going to dominate the manufacturing and shipping across the world. You're not going to dominate that. You know how many manufacturers are sitting in China? The U.S. has nothing compared to what they have over there. So anyway, labor unions in the U.S. steel and shipbuilding industry, yeah, they praise it because this is work for them. But the reality is, America don't have manufacturer, companies like China does, and don't have as many. And you don't even have all the ships to send this stuff out worldwide. That would take probably a good decade for you to set something up like that. So anyway, however, dock workers could see jobs disappear as fewer ships arrive at U.S. ports to avoid new levies. And that's already happening. And I did a video on that just a few days ago. So if anything, over the next several months, you're going to see less ships coming here because they said China already stopped sending a bunch of ships over here because of the tariffs. It's costing them a lot of money and they can't do it. So less volume coming into the ports mean fewer dock workers, and funds collected through the docking fees would directly support the U.S. shipbuilding sector. So this is what Donald Trump has in mind. And I just don't see this working. I don't see this working. I'll be shocked if they're willing to pay these fees. I just don't believe China will pay these fees that Donald Trump is demanding. That's what I think. And at the end of the day, the only ones that are going to suffer are the US people as we start to see more and more empty shelves around America, which I believe will start this summer. This summer, you're going to start seeing a lot of empty shelves. And I just don't see them paying these fees. I think eventually they're going to tell the US to, not the US, but Donald Trump to shove it, and they won't come. Mm-mm. Yeah. Well, Donald Trump is sure doing a very good job in carrying out the Most High's will and destroying this place, isn't he? He put the perfect person in office to help bring this place down because Donald Trump ain't missing a beat right now. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude, and I will see you, those of you that do the Bible study um, for the Shabbat. I will see you at 3. No, I think it's 4 o'clock. I will see you at 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Well, y'all, this is on them. When Donald Trump brings this place all the way down, and he definitely will, we'll see how all of this plays out because it is getting very interesting, to say the least. All right. So let me just thank you, Monica Gregory, for the super sticker and your support for my channel. I deeply appreciate it. Shalom, family.